What's going on, guys? This is Sherry of Lightning back with another Digimon video. Digimon Adventure Tri has been interesting. Whether you love it or hate it, it has certainly been very nostalgic to see the old characters again. And speaking of nostalgic, the writers for these Digimon Adventure Tri movies have mainly been using the theme of nostalgia to hype up these movies, more so with certain elements added that only the people who grew up with the original Digimon Adventure seasons would notice. Such as Kuwagumon being the first Digimon that the Digidestin encounter in the first season of Digimon, which is again repeated in the first Digimon Adventure Tri movie, or in season 2 where we encounter the Digimon Emperor. Again, in the second movie of Tri, we have glimpses of the Digimon Emperor, which turned out to be the evil Jedi. And of course, in Digimon Adventure Tri Lost, we are seeing the return of the Dark Masters. However, most Digimon fans, including myself, will agree that throughout every arc in the first season of Digimon, we can all agree that the Myotismon arc is by far the best arc in the first season. As I discussed earlier, there are key elements and characters returning in these movies, but why not have the most popular villain in the first season make his grand return? I know what some of you guys are wondering. We have seen Myotismon return countless times already, and his appearances even spread to other seasons of Digimon, but in this video I am going to give 5 reasons why I think Myotismon should make his grand return. Number 1, he was the best villain in the original series. Like I said earlier, the Myotismon arc was a fan favorite storyline, and who was the spearhead and the focal point of that arc? Of course, Dracula himself. But it wasn't just him. Because of him, we got introduced to Gatomon, the only partner Digimon with a backstory. Prior to Myotismon, we had Etomon and Devimon. Devimon had Ogremon and Leomon as his henchmen, but the fact is, Devimon had to cast a spell on Leomon in order to control him, and even then, both of Devimon's henchmen would always fight and bicker between themselves, so because of these reasons, they weren't a big threat to the Digidestin. Etomon's main henchmen were Gazimon. That is literally no threat to the Digidestin, whilst Myotismon had Gatomon, Dokugumon, Devidramon and various other Digimon, making himself and his army a massive threat to the Digidestin, who we as the audience can actually take seriously. It also helps that in season 1 he soloed all the partner Digimon in their ultimate forms. That was just badass. Number 2, he is a fan favorite character. He's not just one of the most favorite villains in Digimon, but he's one of the most favorite characters, period. His mannerisms, the way he conducts himself, he was always suave and had that great confidence when he carried out his plans. He wasn't a goofy character like Etomon or a weak Digimon that relied on the black gears to become stronger like Devimon. He had his goals on what to do and he knew how to do it. And us watching as the viewer, we were horrified for the Digidestin because we knew none of their partner Digimon could take him in a one-on-one fight. That fear he created within us, we've never felt or seen before in the previous Digimon villains, so it was really refreshing to see that we finally have a credible villain in the story. Number 3, the return of Epochal Amun. With Puppetmon being one of the Dark Masters, and as we have seen through the posters, the Dark Masters are more or less confirmed to be back in these movies. With Puppetmon back and Myotismon back, if they both DNA Digivolve together, we will see the return of Epochal Amun. It would work because of the theme of nostalgia that the writers have been playing in these movies, and of course Epochal Amun has all the powers of the evil Digimon. Imagine if he had the chance to enter the real world. The havoc that he would create would be on a monstrous scale, and it would feel like an actual climax with the human beings being involved in the action rather than just them watching the Digidestin save the day. It would actually feel like an apocalypse if he was in the real world attacking everyone. So yeah, the return of Epochal Amun. Number 4, he never completed his plan. We never truly got the grasp of what his plan truly was, but from what I can understand is that Myotismon in both season 1 and season 2 of Digimon wanted both the digital world and the real world under his control, adding total darkness to both worlds, which makes sense because even though he is a Digimon, he is still a vampire, and as we saw in the first season, he is very ineffective when the sun comes out, which is a big drawback for him as a character. But there is still part of me that wants to see him completing his plan. I mean, Epochal Amun did in fact delete the digital world, and we saw what it was like when that happened, but I would just like to see what the worlds, both of the worlds, the real world and the digital world, would look like if Myotismon had in fact fulfilled his plan. Number 5, everyone is returning. If Kuwagumon, the Digimon Emperor and the Dark Masters have returned, why not have the king of all the Digimon villains return? And not only that, let the original Myotismon return. Why not? I mean, in Dragon Ball Z Resurrection of F, we saw Frieza return, and he was probably the most evil and vicious of all the Dragon Ball villains. And let's be honest, that was the big X factor that attracted many people into watching that film, which led to the box office records being broken in Japan. The same thing could happen in Digimon. Myotismon is basically the Frieza of Digimon, and that would be a huge draw for these Digimon Adventure Tri films. Well, those were my reasons for him to return. People can say it's lazy bringing back the old villains, and yeah, you can make the point with that, but the Myotismon arc was so good. Imagine a story with Myotismon in these films with the HD quality animation. Imagine how good it could be. There's potential there with Myotismon back into the story. And let's be real, with all these characters returning, would you honestly be surprised if Myotismon returns in the 5th movie or even in the last movie? I certainly wouldn't. But anyways, next time I will hopefully be releasing a video with reasons for Myotismon not to return. So as always, like, share and subscribe, and let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Stay tuned for more Yu-Gi-Oh! Digimon Dragon Ball Super content, and of course, care for nothing.